Hey folks, it's March 10th. I'm the president of the Edmonton Local. My name is James. It's a beautiful day out here. Tonight we need to talk about the vehicles required to operate program, what it's going to look like, and some significant criticisms that I give it. So the vehicles required to operate program is kind of exactly what the name says. How many vehicles do you need to operate your office? But they're not going insane with this, not according to the consultation I have. Matter of fact, the intention would be, say, Delton, where we're going to introduce this on March 30th. It'll be the first facility in Edmonton. They're actually going to have 2 or 3 more vehicles in the number of routes that are actually at the depot. So that's a good thing. But the intention is that they're going to operate with 2 less vehicles in circulation on a daily basis than is required by the number of routes. Now, the idea here isn't to have anybody standing around waiting. They've assured me of that. But what the offer here is that if somebody comes back early with a low mileage vehicle, they'll send that vehicle out again with another carrier to keep the mileage of the high mileage vehicles down as low as possible. It just comes down to costs of maintenance. Those Transit Connects that they've had since 2012, 2015 are starting to cost more in maintenance than they are what they're actually worth. I don't know, they cited that it's like $5,000 for a transmission, but I don't know anybody who's actually blown the transmission out of any of them. I haven't heard anything about it anyway. I've most certainly never been to a 2.4 for one. So I don't know. But the idea here is that if you have a step van, you'll still get a step van. If you have a Transit Connect, you'll still get a Transit Connect. And if you're a large transit, you should still get a large transit. But they're just trying to minimize the usage of the high mileage vehicles. I think they're going about this the wrong way. We offered up that what they should do is, since they know the length of all of the routes, they should just give the highest mileage ones to the people who drive the shortest distances, and give the people who drive the largest distances the lowest mileage vehicles. They said they'd take that back and try and get that issued, because I think it'll get rid of a lot of stress, because I think people are kind of panicking about what they heard out of Calgary, which sounds like a bit of a gong show. And I was actually prepared for a very different consultation than what we actually had. So I'm kind of glad that we did, but I still have concerns because, like SSD, the first week they implemented at the facility, they have a manager here and she's being very sure about everything, and then as soon as that manager leaves, all the documentation up and vanishes and the procedures change. So according to the consultation we've had, don't worry about it. You should still have a vehicle every day for every route. They will pull the vehicles that are sitting on the lot. Like, there should be 4 vehicles at Delton that will just be sitting, and they should pull them out if they're required, one way or the other. The conditions for that are pretty low, and they don't want to be spending more money on paying you overtime for standing around than they would cost a vehicle. Large transit is at MSRP is $71,000, and based off of the numbers of the year that we could possibly work, it's like $21 a day to buy one of those. So 1 hour of any of our members at work standing around at overtime is way more than the cost of that truck. So that's not their plan. We also talked about, why don't we go back to foot delivery and bag runs, other opportunities. You know, MSCs could be delivering parcels, and we'd have basically an entire section of our company that would be acting as if they're Amazon, just driving parcels around. But I don't think that's their plan. Their plan is to spend $4 billion putting CMBs across the country. Now remember, they can't afford this. So that they can continue driving the trucks they can't afford. We know this is a problem because $750 million is the price tag to replace 60% of their fleet, which is basically the Transit Connects. And they can't afford that, which is why they want to do this program. It's a mess, right? Like, so they're going to save some money or drag out how long these vehicles last, so that they can spend more money on CMB conversions that they can't afford. It's a mess. I don't get it. It's just a disaster. It's like planned failure. Like, when they bought these vehicles in 2012 to 2015, they must have had a legacy plan. I knew that they did when the vehicle started getting over 10 years old, because that's just sort of the commercial age of these vehicles. I mean, what's it going to cost them in insurance at this point? Because for commercial vehicles, it goes up when the vehicles get older. This might be a bit rambly at this point. I'm really torn on this idea. Like, I don't think it's a good idea. I think they should have a vehicle for every route. I think that if they wanted to save mileage, then what they could do is just assign the vehicles to the appropriate routes, because they know how long every route is, but that would require work. But now they're just going to put more work on their supervisors so that you're going to get your route ready to go and then go up to your supervisor and ask for a key, have to scan it. There's going to be more emphasis on the program for reporting defects, all sorts of good stuff like that. And ultimately, if they're, if they end up with more vehicles that are out of service than they have in the depot, they're not going to bring any more in. So there's the problem, right? You're a carrier, you're the last guy in. Are you going to report the defect knowing there's not going to be a truck for you tomorrow? I don't know. That's a problem. I'm also concerned about the health and safety aspect. And also, like, what happens if the mail doesn't get delivered? They're going to have to start going back to Article 15, because if the mail doesn't get delivered and you start insisting on Article 17, who's going to do it? There's not going to be a vehicle available, right? What happens when the weather gets bad? We asked all these questions, and we'll just deal with it as it comes along. And ultimately, like, this is not the way to run a business. We were probably better off doing relay bag delivery for mail, door to door, and have a specialized fleet for delivering parcels like it was prior to 2012. But all I know is they're dead set on spending $4 billion for CMBs, so that they have to continue spending $1.4 billion for vehicles every 10 to 15 years. It's just a mess. But like all other things, postal workers will endure. Through dark of night, rain, sleet, crappy management, we'll still get out there delivering. It says in our collective agreement that the corporation has the right to manage within the confines of that agreement, but it doesn't say they have to manage well. So we're stuck dealing with it, right? We're stuck with terrible management that has terrible ideas to fix simple problems. It's a bit of a mess. So keep your chin up. This isn't as bad as it could be, I guess. I want to hear complaints, though. I want to hear complaints because I want to hear about your vehicles not being cleaned. I want to hear about any safety hazards. I want to hear what they're determining to be a minor thing that needs to be repaired versus a major thing, because I want to hold them accountable, right? We need to do that. We need to make sure that they are being properly held accountable, so that the number of vehicles that are at your facilities will accurately reflect what the needs of your facility are. All right? Have a great day.